Hey guys, Fox here. Today I want to do a video talking about why I feel like Kindred will be absolutely busted in the mid-season update patch, done with all those crazy changes and the new dragons. If you're not up to date with the changes about what's going on, I actually do have two videos talking about it, two separate ones, one about the dragon and one about every other jungle change. If you want to watch them, they're down below in the description. You should probably watch those first before this one so you know what I'm talking about. I'll leave them there for you, you can check them out. So the first reason why I think that Kindred is going to be crazy is because Devourer is getting removed, but Kindred really didn't care that much about Devourer at all. I mean, firstly, the Devourer, and specifically the Sated Devourer, was actually gimped for ranged champions, so it wasn't even perfect on Kindred anyway. Secondly, for the most part of Kindred's existence, she actually favoured Warrior over Devourers, only until very recently when she actually started picking that up. Because by nature and at heart, Kindred is a very early game centered champion, and having the Devourer doesn't give you those early game stats, and it also makes you have to stack up your Devourer stacks until you get sated. These are all things that Kindred wasn't really a fan of. And also on top of that, Kindred didn't have any kind of sick synergy with that phantom hit like some other Devourer champions did. People like Master Yi, who'd get crazy Wuju style hits off and loads of it makes his passive stack faster and his Q cooldown go down, or like Xin Zhao would be able to heal more frequently. You know, these champions had crazy synergies with those on-hit builds. Kindred didn't really care about that so much. All she had was a passive. So basically, because Kindred didn't care that much about Devourer, she's not really that hurt now it's getting removed. Now that Bloodrazor's coming out, I actually think this is going to be very strong on Kindred indeed. Firstly, you don't have to stack the item, which means she doesn't have to spend time farming the jungle. Now, she's pretty good at farming the jungle, but as an early game strong character, she doesn't really want to be spending too much time farming. Instead, she just wants to be fighting people. So Bloodrazor means she doesn't have to farm that much, and also it has great synergy with the passive. Her passive is already doing max % health damage, and the Bloodrazor does even more of it. Now this is going to be especially effective when you take into consideration the fact that we are currently in a pretty big tank meta. So Kindred is going to just shred all these tanks crazy style. On top of that as well, you've also got a lot more focus around the objectives, which I'll be talking about a little later on. Neutral objectives specifically, and % max health damage is very good versus those because they tend to have a lot of health. Yes, it is capped, but still, it's a lot. The next reason why I think Kindred is going to be very strong indeed is because of all the focus around the new elemental dragons that's coming out and the new neutral monster objectives. Now, because these dragons are much better than the current or old dragon, you're going to want to have more focus on taking them out, which means you're going to want to have more junglers that are good in the early game, whether that means you can gank and set up and prepare those dragon plays, or just champions who can take away dragons either by themselves or with a little bit of help. Now, there are some champions who are very good at killing lanes and prepping dragon, but not so good at taking dragon away itself, such as Lee Sin. And there are champions who are very good at taking away dragon, but not so good at prepping the lanes to help you, such as Shyvana. And then there's someone who's very, very good at prepping the lanes, very, very good at taking away the dragon, and guess what her name is? Kindred. In fact, I go so far to say as Kindred is probably in the top 3 of all champions in the game at both those categories. And of course, in addition to this, the Elder Dragon spawning now, which is kind of like a second Baron to some degree, means that there is going to be more focus around taking neutral objectives, and part of that will come down to how fast you can take them as well. And when you've got a Kindred on your team, that is only going to work in your favor. However, I do want to say that Kindred is in line to be getting some small nerfs, as I've seen on the PBE. I don't really think that that's going to make too much of a difference. It'll take it down a peg, but unless something crazy happens between this video and when she actually goes live, she's probably going to be pretty busted. And of course, the last thing to say is that right now, before all these changes go through, Kindred is probably the best jungler in the game. I'd say her and Gragas are probably top 2, at least in my opinion, certainly for solo queue. So yeah, she's only going to get stronger. You know, it's not like she's just coming out of the blue and I'm predicting some kind of crazy, hidden OP champion. Nah, she's already there. She's just going to be further. At least that is what I predict will happen based on what I can tell from the patch notes and stuff like that. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think that this means Kindred's going to be strong, or do you think it's going to open the way for some different kind of champions? Let me know what you thought about this video, guys. If you did like it, feel free to give that cheeky thumbs up. You can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, and currently streaming over at twitch.tv. You can also subscribe to me right here for more League of Legends content. I'd love to see your face around more. But most importantly, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in my next video.